The first rule to keep people engaged is to...
Magda Kern is one of the world's leading public speaking coaches. People from all walks of life come to her to build real confidence and learn how to command a room when it matters most.
Up to 75% of people experience an anxiety before public speaking. It's so embarrassing. There are, of course, many techniques, but the most accessible one, you actually have it.
What would you say is the first step we can take to feel more comfortable?
This is a game changer.
Magda, you've been recognized as one of the world's top public speaking coaches, helping countless people shine on stage and build real confidence. For listeners who are just getting to know you, could you share a little bit about what your work involves?
First of all, thank you for inviting me to your podcast. I look forward to our conversation. In a nutshell, I'm a teacher of public speaking wizardry. So I help people to prepare their presentations. I teach them how to move on stage, connect with the listeners, answer unexpected questions, or use storytelling techniques. Also things like how to communicate a very specific and scientific topics in a simple way, and also help them to feel confident on stage and manage stress. So in general, all of the things that no one teaches us at school, but everyone expects that we have them and, I don't know, somehow magically absorb them through osmosis. And Emerson once said, all the great speakers were bad speakers at first, and they helped them to transform and actually enjoy being on stage.
So why do you think so many of us maybe don't enjoy being on stage at first and struggle and are a little afraid of speaking in front of a crowd?
Mm-hmm. There are many reasons behind it. There's one Gallup study, and it shows that around 70 up to 75% of people experience an anxiety before public speaking, and I guess the remaining 25 never present. And yes, first of all, it's a very unnatural situation. So if it's like a school class, if it's a conference room or a bigger stage, we are alone in front of a crowd. And we might feel vulnerable. It's an unusual situation that all eyes are on us. But we have these three reactions when we experience stress: fight, flight, or pretend to be dead. And then when we interpret a situation that it's something threatening, we might want to escape and we just don't enjoy it. Everyone is looking at us. We are scared. We are also afraid of judgment. We are afraid of making mistakes, and we are also not encouraged in life to make mistakes. So at work, people rely on us, or when we are part of a team, a group, and there are certain expectations that we want to meet. So these are the major, I would say, reasons that I see talking to my clients why they are stressed.
You are an expert. You've been on many stages. You've spoken in front of big crowds. Do you still get these three reactions where it's like fight or flight, or you freeze, or now that you're an expert, is that kind of in the past and you don't worry about that anymore?
No, absolutely. Whenever I have a performance, a presentation, a keynote, I feel excitement, not an anxiety. So of course, my heart is pounding. I have a shortened breath. There are very natural reactions. And even the last time when I was standing on stage in front of a few hundred people, then I felt that my leg was shaking, and I thought, oh, that's interesting, something new. And then I lost my focus for like 2 seconds, and I came back. So these are natural reactions that show us that something important is happening in our lives. And actually, these reactions help us also to prepare, to stay focused, not think about the dinner or weekend plans or whatever you have on your plate. And yeah, this is something that I, of course, experience, but I interpret it in that it's something very positive, actually. The old school said, oh, how to fight with stress, how to kill stress. Now we're moving in psychology towards how to use stress on our advantage. Because, of course, chronic stress, it's a very bad thing for our health. But if you are stressed from time to time for even a day or 1 hour, you will not die. Everything will be all right. And it's something very natural that everyone is experiencing.
When we are faced with stepping outside our comfort zone, what would you say is perhaps the first step we can take to feel more comfortable, to adjust to the situation that might be stressful for us?
There is a saying that there are two things that are sure in life: taxes and death.
Oh, great.
I would add...
Wonderful.
But actually we could add one more thing, and it's stress. Stress is unavoidable. Even if you want to remove stress from our life, it's absolutely impossible because, okay, you might skip public speaking, you might not be promoted because you don't want to speak in front of people, but there will be stress because you're moving in, moving out. You are changing job, you're losing job, someone is sick, and all of this. So stress is a certain thing. And of course, we don't like uncomfortable situation. Who likes them? I think not that many people. There's also the Buddhist saying about two arrows. So the first arrow, it's something that we are experiencing in life, pain, things that will happen anyway, like death, sickness, difficult situations. And this is the pain of one arrow. But then if we overthink, we don't want to accept it, then we actually add the second arrow. And referring it to stress, if you accept that when you stand in front of 2 people, 200 people, 2,000 people, you will feel these physical or even cognitive, behavioral symptoms, then it's also easier because you don't have this heavy weight on your shoulders, like, oh, I cannot be stressed. Why not? Of course, we tend to select pleasant experiences. We want to have joy and laughter and not to deal with difficult situations, but they're unavoidable. So then if we have a mindset, okay, I can make it, I can go through it, and it's a natural thing, then it's easier. Some people use a distinction that we have negative and positive emotions. I don't like this one. I rather think that we have pleasant and unpleasant emotions. Also sadness, anger, they have a function, and there is a reason why they are there. Of course, they might be not the most pleasant ones, but they're part of our life.
A lot of people aren't in a situation where they have to stand up in front of a crowd frequently, but nonetheless, most of us have meetings, virtual meetings or in-person meetings where we do have to perform on a certain level. Are there any tips or advice on how someone can even maybe improve just by 1% by doing something specific to just improve their presence and how people, how they're observed by other people?
Mm-hmm. And you think about rather stress management or like the way how they present?
For the person themselves, how they can deal with the stress, and then also how others perceive them.
If you want to manage stress, there are, of course, many techniques, and you can reflect on what you're thinking, how you're behaving. But the most accessible one, you actually have it, and it's breathing. There are a few options. So the first one is box breathing. It's like 4, 4, 4, 4. So you take breath in, count to 4, hold 4, breathe out to 4, and hold again. The second one is 4, 7, 8. It's something similar. So we take a breath in, counting to 4, then hold to 7, and then exhale to 8. Or if you want to something shorter, then it's like taking breath to 3 and breathing out to 6. Do you want to try?
Sure, let's try it. Actually, it's funny because the moment you mentioned breath, I noticed I was like holding on to my breath because also here it's exciting. We're doing the podcast, so I was like kind of tense. So I'd be happy to try that.
Yes, it's good if we use our diaphragm when we breathe, because this is the healthiest way of breathing.
Yeah.
So maybe you can close your eyes.
Sure.
And if you're watching us, you can also close your eyes. And I will count. We will do box breathing. Take a breath in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4. And hold. 2, 3, 4. Breath in. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4. And hold. 2, 3, 4. Again, breath in. 2, 3, 4. And hold. 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4. And hold. 2, 3, 4. Now we can open your eyes. How do you feel?
It does relax me. And I was just thinking, of course, this would be perfect to do before you go into a meeting. But during the meeting, I don't know how I could do that or do something similar. Do you have a tool if I'm in the middle of a conversation and I feel that anxiety and stress building up and maybe I'm hyperventilating or something, how I can still channel what we just did, but without having to stop and do the box counting?
Yes. So box breathing or all of the breathing techniques you can do when you are, for example, waiting. You're sitting in a conference room and you know that your colleague is presenting, and after they finish, it's your turn. So then you can actually decrease your heartbeat level. You can even make an experiment. Walk on stairs up and down. Here we're on the 4th floor, so a few rounds. And then measure with your smartwatch your pulse and try to do box breathing. And this, of course, it was like a trial, but you should repeat it 10, 15, 20 times to make it more effective. And at the beginning of a presentation, when you speak, it's natural that your pulse will rise, that it will be more difficult to breathe. And one thing you could do is to slow down when you speak. Because if we speak very fast, to finish as fast as possible, then it's more difficult to manage stress because we don't have time to take a proper breath in and navigate through it. Slow down, you will sound smarter, wiser, and you will also manage stress better. Regarding your second question about presence, the first thing is to maintain eye contact. When we feel insecure, we don't feel that we want to be in the center of attention, then we might have a tendency to, for example, look at slides. It's a very common mistake when speakers, instead of looking at a laptop in front of them, they turn around all the time and they lose this rapport with their listeners. So maintaining eye contact and also take care of your body posture. When we are in a difficult situation, stressful, we have a tendency to move like this. And then even if you don't feel like it, try to stay straight, and then you will be more perceived as someone confident, and it might also give you a little bit of confidence as well.
Yeah, that's something I've noticed. If you slouch, it also doesn't make you feel good. But if you hold your shoulders back and keep kind of an open chest, it also helps, I think, on a psychological level to feel better. I don't know if there's science backing that, but that's just from my personal experience. I notice a difference there.
Yes, slouching is very natural because in this way we protect our body. This is very natural, so that someone will not kill us, punch us. Regarding the power poses, when you, for example, when you are stressed and you straighten your back, you stand still, or even keep your hands in a pose of a victory, then you might feel a little bit more confident. It doesn't necessarily have to be confirmed in the results of your, for example, cortisol level in your blood. But in general, it can give you this boost. And many of my clients use these power poses, and they say that it's helpful. Of course, maybe don't do it in a conference room, but go to a bathroom before and then try to embrace it.
Before, you were saying that a lot of people have the tendency of looking away when they're nervous or not keeping the eye contact. Something else that I've noticed is when people look away, the volume of their voice changes because they're not projecting. Are there other things that influence this perception of whether someone appears to be competent and confident? Or would you say there are other tools that one could use to make sure that you don't appear like you're nervous or insecure?
Very often, I would say, the majority of my clients, when they start their adventure and journey with public speaking, when they stand, they are like swaying, moving a lot, and only standing still in one spot this is a game changer from my perspective. Then you will be perceived as someone more confident, more relaxed. Then, of course, you can add stage movement later, but at the beginning, this could be the first thing. The second thing is to eliminate filler words. If you from time to time say or any other, it's fine. But if someone uses all the time, then first of all, it's a huge cognitive load for our listeners because they have to filter out the actual communication and the message. And it's just more difficult to understand. And the second thing is, if we eliminate filler words, we sound smarter and more confident. And a bonus is that if you have unexpected questions, so it happens all the time, and many people are afraid of unexpected questions because it's unpredictable. We don't know what to say. Everyone is staring at us. And then when you train to eliminate filler words, no one can actually recognize that you don't know the answer or that you are thinking.
That's something that's been really interesting for me throughout this podcast experience because I'm fairly new to it. And listening back to the recordings, I notice that I have these moments where I just go, and I use the filler words. And I think a big part of that, if I'm just reflecting on why that might be, is that silence can feel really uncomfortable. And it feels like it's going on for a lot longer than it actually is. So if I have nothing to say, it's easier to just fill that gap with some other word. Do you have a piece of advice on how to practice reducing these filler words?
The first thing is we should feel comfortable with silence. I'm a coach in psychology, so I'm trained to deal with silence. And when you talk, it even can be like a very intimate setting with one-on-one, or you present, this 3 seconds might feel like 3 hours. And it's difficult to survive this, but if you can survive silence and pause, this gives you an insane power, because the most powerful people are usually not the ones who are the loudest, who talk the most, but the ones who can actually survive silence and be confident. The second thing is, many people are not aware of the filler words. So it's something that we don't reflect on, we are not aware of them, and then it's difficult to of course, eliminate them. If you are at home, you can, for example, look through a window and describe what you see. You can say, what are your plans for the weekend or anything else, and record yourself. On every phone or mobile phone, you have an app where you can record yourself and then listen to it. And you can actually notice if you use any filler words. And the third thing is, slow down, because these filler words, usually it's crying for help of a brain that I need time to think. You don't have to spit out words like a machine gun. When you speak, you can give yourself time to reflect. And this pause, this silence, it's a gift for you, but also for your listeners, because you know what you want to say, but I have no idea. So if you give me this gift of this 2 or 3 seconds to take a breath, then it's easier to keep up a conversation, to communicate and present and also understand our speakers.
Ideally, we do know what we want to say, but there are situations where maybe we might freeze or have a total blackout on stage or in any situation. What can we do in that moment to recover from that gap in our brains and be able to continue without being totally embarrassed or humiliated?
If you have a blackout, you can do this.
A sip of water.
I bought myself like 4 or 5 seconds to think again what I want to say. Another trick is to walk. Walking helps us to think. So if you are stuck, you can just pause and walk. And people think, oh, she's thinking, she's so smart and wise. Wow. So if you don't say, oh no, I forgot, I don't know what to say, people will not know anything. The third rescue option is to ask a question. How do you enjoy my presentation so far? Do you have any questions? Or the fourth option is just to come back to the last thing that you remember and try to continue. But it happens. I saw it so many times. It's a natural thing. So we don't need to be worried about it and nothing bad will happen. In general, people are very afraid of how they will be perceived, if they will be liked, and we imagine the worst scenarios when we present what can happen. But in the end, we have now roof over our head, we have internet, we have shops, we can actually buy food 24 hours per day. And the worst thing that actually can happen is that our ego will suffer a bit. So we have certain expectations, certain standard that we want to share and represent. But then if it doesn't go so well, first of all, you can learn from it. And yes, we usually just don't know how to do it, and we have to do it. So I will say that this is the major part.
You're giving so many good pieces of advice on how we can present ourselves better. Was there a point in your life where you yourself wanted to learn these things? And is that how you got here? Or maybe take us back to little Magda. What do we need to know to understand how far you've come and how you've ended up being this public speaking expert?
It was a journey. I was in general very happy and easygoing child who loved sleeping on the floor and shiny items. And it all started with a guitar. I was learning to play the guitar, and my teacher told me, oh, Magda, you're talented. You should apply to a music school. And then I ended up playing the cello. And I remembered that after the first grade, I got high grades. So as a gift, I got a mandatory piano classes. And I hated public speaking. I hated playing in front of people. It was incredibly stressful. I was crying the day before. I couldn't eat or sleep. And then this additional piano classes added on top of the other shows. And when you are part of a music school, you have to take exams and perform shows. And then it was, a little bit better. I joined a jazz vocals class, and I was learning to sing more professionally. I also was taking drums classes, so it was I had a lot of fun. Then it was a little bit better, but still not the best. And then I met a Cuban composer and pianist, Ray, who blew wind into my wings, and I'm very grateful for that. So he gave me a lot of confidence, and he invited me to his band, and I was singing, dancing, Cuban musical. I remember our rehearsals when they ended with some big fiestas, with arroz con picadillo and other nice dishes. And there were people from Peru, Cuba, Colombia, Mexico, and other countries. It was always loud, and there was a lot of laughter. And before the premiere of this show, I couldn't sleep for days. And then slowly it was better and better. At the same time, I was studying at the Economics University. And on weekends, I was doing my postgraduate studies in coaching. I also started my first corporate job. And yes, this coaching somehow hooked me. And then I decided to study psychology and also business school. You have many presentations, and I was learning, joining different workshops, learning also from my experience, also psychology, so this part. And then I combine all of these elements today.
Wow, that's so cool. That's amazing. Just listening to your backstory, it sounds like you had a very musical journey. If we think of our bodies and our voices as instruments that we can use creatively, how can we make them sound the best to make a beautiful piece of music with our bodies and our voices?
I love this metaphor. Yes, exactly. Our body is our instrument. So the way how we handle ourselves will have a direct impact. If we are stressed, there are certain basics that we should apply before a very important presentation. Sleep, eat, repeat, in a nutshell. So sleeping, relaxing, recovering our body. And the first thing is to open our mouths. Very often when people talk, they never open their mouth, and then we cannot hear their wonderful voices. So it's very important to open our mouth. We can also do some exercises to warm our speech apparatus and voice before we present. This could also help us, and the basic thing that can help us with stress and with voice, it's also breathing. So using a diaphragm, you can make this exercise at home that you hold your belly and your ribs, and it should expand. So when we take breath in, this part should extend very often. Yes, like our arms go up, especially women have this problem. And if you don't have it, you can lay down on the floor, put heavy books on your belly, and then try to breathe that they're going up and down. This will help you with stress. This will be much healthier way of breathing, and it will also help us to support our voice and the volume.
What is maybe the most common misconception you've heard from your clients? Something they think would help them in their presentations, but actually it's the opposite. It makes it worse, or something they feel really insecure about, but maybe you can turn into a strength. It's not so bad after all.
I see very often, especially with companies, I call it slidemic. So slides destroyed public speaking. Because right now we don't print reports, we just put them on the slides. And I distinguish public speaking and public reading. So very often when we meet as a team, we have a report, a table, or anything else. We just analyze it together. It's not public speaking, it's public reading. It's a different situation. But if you present your project, your team, your successes, you have a keynote, and then on slides, there are like 40 lines of text. On top of that, a graph, a picture. It's very difficult to get it. And we are not able to read and listen at the same time. So we lose our listeners. And if our presentation can be sent via email, what's the purpose of organizing a presentation? right? People are there to listen to you. And this is why our slides should be minimalistic. If someone cannot actually read what is on slides within this 1 or 2 minutes, when you talk about it, what's the purpose of putting it there? Another option is just to send this presentation as a follow-up later with all of the details. But when you present, it should be minimalistic, that you can actually connect with people.
What can you do if you feel like you're not connecting to people, if you feel that the audience is distracted or they're not so interested in what you're saying? How can you deal with that?
The first rule to keep people engaged is to have an engaging presentation. So think about them in advance. What is interesting for them? How can I serve them today when I present? And try to draft a presentation that will be tailor-made to their needs. Our attention span right now, it's horrible. TED created this 18-minute formula 40 years ago. And now, do you know what they recommend? How long should the TED Talk be?
I don't know, but...
What's your guess?
If I had to guess, maybe 10 minutes?
Close, 8.
8 minutes.
All of the articles have headlines, have bolded words, have pictures, and our attention span, even people don't watch shorts for 30 seconds. It's too long. It's like 5 or 12, and that's it.
Yeah.
And we could be angry and say, oh, it's rude. But yes, this is how it is. So when you have a presentation, it's good from time to time to add an interesting element, either a question, interaction, maybe tell a story, tell a joke, interact with the listeners, because then they will feel that they are engaged. And this is what I would suggest. Sometimes your statement turn into a question. And then you want to say something and you see that the listeners are not listening, then you just ask a question. Instead of saying, oh, it's 8 minutes, what do you think? How long should it be? This is what I did right now. So this could be the way to do it. But the beginning is very important. How we start. Don't start with, hi, I'm Magda. Today I'm going to talk about financial plans for 2026, 2027, 2028, and 2029. But start with something else. You can still say, what is your presentation about? Who you are, but hook them at the first 10, 15 seconds, and then they'll be more willing to give you their attention.
What makes a good hook, in your opinion? What is something when you're in an audience that grabs your attention immediately?
There are a few options to select from. It can be a question, open or closed question. It can be a story, quote, picture, video, music, anything like this. It can be an interesting or shocking fact, data. You can have a prop, maybe, and show something, maybe a quiz, scan a QR code and answer a question, or raise of hand, how many of you, and here you ask a question. So you can start with something unusual, maybe a controversial statement, and then continue with your presentation.
Let's say everyone started following all these rules and we all turned into perfect public speakers. What is one way we can make sure to not lose what makes us unique and authentic, while still coming across as being competent, confident, and applying these tools that you've mentioned so far?
The first thing that comes to my mind right now regarding AI, don't write your presentation with AI. I can already detect the AI versions and the human versions. This is something it's very unique. So AI cannot experience emotions, doesn't have human experiences and story. So try to do it on your own. Of course, you can use AI tools that can help you to build it and structure, but nothing else. And what I'm teaching are basic and more advanced steps. then you can just take away, even from our conversation. If you think that it's right, then take it. If not, then just follow something else. But then we can, once we have this basic skill set, it's like with dancing. We learn basic steps of salsa or Lindy Hop or any other dance. And then at certain point, after we master the basics, the footwork and so on, we can start improvising and creating something that it's our own. And for me, it's important that my clients don't have to pretend that they're someone else, but I stretch them a little bit. So if they talk very expressively and loud and fast, then maybe you can slow down them a little bit. Or if someone is very calm, very slow, then maybe we can add a little bit of these flavors that it's more engaging and they can present better. So not everyone will love our presentation, and it's all right. We're not a chocolate. Not everyone has to love us. And it's natural that we cannot satisfy everyone's needs. Because if you are calmer, wiser, then someone says, it's boring. And then if you are energetic, you're like a show person type, then it's like, why they are so loud, and
what a show off.
Yes, for a show. Exactly. And we have our preferences, and it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Not this, we can leave this 5% of the listeners who might not like our presentation, but it's okay. It's impossible to satisfy everyone. The same like with music. If you think about a delicate, subtle singer, someone say, oh, it's so beautiful, such a great musicality. Another person will say, it has no value, no content. It's just like mediocre. And the same goes with everything in life. So we don't have to be everyone's cup of tea.
That's something we need to remind ourselves, I think, a lot. I'd be curious to know, because you were saying that with AI, you've started to notice when some presentations have been more generated with AI and others have been, prepared by the person. What are some indicators that give that away?
I actually tested it, and I asked AI to create a presentation and a TED Talk, and it was very correct, exactly how it should be with the structure and elements, but it was very flat. So you have very many generic words, and there's nothing that you actually connect to. So when you hear this story, it's like, okay, it's correct, but there's nothing special about it. And it's also the way how AI language models prefer like the most common words. And when we talk, it might not be 100% grammatically correct or perfect, but you have this natural human touch that still AI cannot provide.
That's at least nice to know that we can't be substituted everywhere by artificial intelligence.
Yes, because when you present, you share also your experiences, your feelings, your insights. And I think it's impossible to prompt AI with our mind and our life story.
I have a different question. What is the weirdest tool or the weirdest technique that you use with your clients or that you give them as a piece of advice that they can use? If you had to pick one that is maybe not so well known or might be a bit strange.
There's one exercise that usually they don't feel comfortable when they have to convey emotions with their voice. And they have to play different roles, especially if you are in a corporate environment or at an academic environment. You need to be flat. And in public speaking, communication, we don't have to, of course, shout or cry. But if I say, hi, I'm very happy to be here, Nicole. Thank you for the invitation. Does it sound authentic? No. I don't say, I'm so happy. Of course, I don't have to exaggerate. I say I'm very happy. And this is what is missing. And this is what I train also with my speakers, to give them this ability to convey emotions and then be actually authentic, because it doesn't mean that if we don't use it, we are not authentic, but people might perceive us as not authentic because they hear a word and then the face expression or the tone of their voice and doesn't match. So this is why it's important also to learn this one.
Why do you want to help others build confidence and be able to speak publicly? What motivates you to do that?
I love teaching. Actually, the first time when I was teaching, it was 10. I was teaching my friend, and then it's something that I enjoy. It gives me a lot of joy, and it's my goal and mission to help people to deliver top-notch presentations and also deal with stress and enjoy it. I didn't have these tools when I was a child. Back then, something like stress management, mindfulness didn't exist, and now my goal is to help as many people as possible, because public speaking is something that we almost all have to do. Either it's a toast during a wedding, speech, wishes, presentation at work, or more, of course, if we have a job that requires our public speaking skills. And we actually have to do it from childhood, when we have oral exams, when a teacher asks us a question, we have to answer in front of the whole class. It's important to equip people with these skills and techniques, because it's not like a magical area, a magical thing that it's only for a few % of humanity. But everyone can learn public speaking. It's about the right tools and how many times you will repeat it. It's the same like you want to learn drive a car, build up furnitures from IKEA, learn a language or anything else. It's a skill that requires time, effort, but once you learn it, you have it for the rest of your life. So you can then enjoy. And once you learn all of those skills, the only thing you need to consider for the future presentations, of course, to exercise, but then you need to focus on the content, because you know how to engage with the audience. You have the automatic reactions of looking at different parts of the audience, and then you can just enjoy it.
And as you said, I mean, inevitably, everyone at some point will be faced with the task of getting up and speaking publicly.
Yes. And usually people hate it. I understand, because I also hated it for years. Our brain is neuroplastic. And even if you don't like public speaking, you are stressed, you have very high level of stage fright, you can override the old code and then put something new and learn how to deal with emotion, stress, and learn new skills. So even if you feel that you are not good at public speaking, you can learn it.
That's very encouraging. I think that's a good message to take away from this conversation for sure. It just reminded me, having to practice something and do it over and over again to actually be good at it, reminded me of a teacher I had in high school, my German teacher. In every single German class we had, he would randomly ask someone to get up in front of the class, and he would give a random topic, and that student would be required to just speak for 1 minute straight without any preparation. And at the time I was like, oh no, why does he make us do that? It's so embarrassing. It's nerve-wracking. But actually thinking back, I'm so thankful that he made us do that, because it pushed us out of our comfort zone. And eventually in the work life or in other situations and scenarios, you will have to do that. So
when you learn improvisation, when you are a musician, usually you learn scales, chords, harmony, and sometimes people learn it for years. And it's a little bit similar to answering unexpected questions, or when someone gives you a topic. Okay, Nicole, now for 1 minute, talk about something. And we can also train our brain to learn how to quickly think, create impromptu speeches, give answers. Of course, there are certain questions where you need to reflect. If someone asks you to compare one to another and you need to go through different studies, it's like more a PhD topic, not a quick answer, then of course, maybe your answer will not be the best that you could give, but it's still decent, and we can also learn this quick answer. So it was a very good exercise, but I can imagine it was very scary.
Yes, at the time, especially as a teenager, you're even more self-conscious. So
now you can send your teacher this podcast and say, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Großrieder, if you're listening, haven't seen you in a long time, but thank you. Yeah, so I know for a fact, I'm 100% confident that anyone who has listened to this podcast has so many valuable tips that they can take and use for their own public speaking. And there's so much more that we could dive into. Where can people find you and how can they follow you to learn more about your work?
If someone resonates and with what I just said, you can find me on publicspeakingwizard.com website. There is a contact form, or you can find me on Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn. So I'm present across all of these platforms.
Perfect. Well, Magda, thank you so very much for coming on the podcast. I'll try to remember what you've shared with me for my own public speaking moments, and it's been so nice to have you on.
Yes, thank you very much for the invitation, and all the best.
If you enjoyed this episode, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing.